We have been waiting for a new car combat game forever. Since the genre fell off the earth, the most recent title I could think of would maybe be Crossout. I've never played that before, never heard anything good about it, so I didn't think it would be worth my time. Maybe one day I'll play that piece of crap, but generally speaking, trying to find anything for car combat is really difficult, especially one that has quality. Today, I wanted to talk about a game that actually has good quality and actually feels something similar to Twisted Metal, scratching that same gameplay itch most people would be looking for. The current title is just Chrome's Car Combat, and I was very excited to try this game out, and I was not disappointed. I wanted to start with the core gameplay, which is the most important part. You can have great characters, good levels, and everything else, but if the experience on top of that is not a good one, none of that stuff matters, right? Your ability to drive around, shoot, satisfaction of damage, visual appeal all takes into account when truly enjoying something. Thankfully, the core experience is very, very good here. Seriously, I was genuinely impressed when I sat down and played this for the first time. The best way to describe this game is Twisted Metal Black in 2012 mixed together with a hint of Twisted Metal Lost. If I break it down, the driving, shooting, and missile effects are all very similar to Black, just pretend you're playing Black but the game actually has color. With the controls of 2012, using the left analog stick to turn and the right stick to go in reverse. I don't like to use the analog sticks too much. I did get used to it though, so it was not too bad for me. Of course, this being a Twisted Metal inspired game, the energy attacks were implemented as well. Why I call this similar to Twisted Metal Lost is because of this reason. Similar to that game, if you press triangle plus up, it will freeze. Triangle plus down will rear attack just like Lost, keeping with the very fast pace you were expecting from Twisted Metal. I really enjoyed my time and it felt so familiar, allowing ones who are acquainted to playing this series be able to pick this game up really easily. None of the weapons I picked up were new, which was kind of disappointing. Maybe in the future some will be implemented. Everything is right out of Black, which obviously seems to be the main inspiration for the choices here. Homing missiles, fire missiles as expected, even satellite, zoomy, and reticle. And I know a lot of people want that Twisted Metal style gameplay, but having something new is important as well to give the game longevity and make it feel different. One of the biggest faults of that franchise was not introducing enough new things to make most of the experiences feel awfully familiar to each other. I do hope more weapons are put into the game, since the feeling of the core is stupendous. Maybe a few unique ones, bringing something similar to like the rain missile from Twisted Metal 3, but actually making it like, good. Leaving fire on the ground that's actually a fear to tread. There's plenty of room for new, unique, and creative weapons in this type of formula. I was always hoping for an AoE style weapons or the return of some trap weapons from Twisted Metal 1 like the tire spikes and whatnot. It would add an interesting dynamic to put weapons in of this vein. Don't get me wrong, the arsenal is still good obviously, I just hope more will be added over time. I cannot praise the core game enough. My personal favorite thing is being able to play the game above 60 FPS. Through YouTube, you won't notice it since it caps out at 60 FPS in 2023, which is absolutely mind-boggling to me. Like seriously, why can't we watch videos at a higher frame rate? Performance is much more important to me than graphics, so having the ability to play my games at a higher frame rate is ideal. This goes all the way up to 300 frames a second, which is obviously more than enough. My display goes up to 240, and I cannot say how truly amazing playing a Twisted Metal style game feels at this refresh rate. Going back to a lot of the older games is fun, but there's always an adjustment period for me getting used to playing at 60 FPS, especially 30 or 24 in some cases. The games I play on my own typically support 240 FPS, so jumping from playing a game at that refresh rate then going all the way down to under 30 is really rough. The smoothness here is just unreal, and it made me want to play this even longer. It may not seem like that big of a deal, but this is the first experience for this style of game to be played with this smoothness. Just imagine Black but 4 times as crisp. Actually amazing. Initially, when I got into this, I was scared it was going to be a Twisted Metal but not Twisted Metal game. And what that means is being overly familiar to the series with similar character designs and special weapons. Those are the biggest differentiating factors playing these games and going through them, right? It's fine to take inspiration from something, but if you're just implementing a bunch of old things into a quote-unquote new game, the fun would go away really fast because that content has already been played before. If you've seen something and done it a million times and it comes back, at first you'll be like, oh, it's so cool, I'm so excited and happy, but the charm wears off really fast. There's nothing wrong with this in practice. It's nice to get that nostalgic feeling or familiar vibe to a game, which of course Chrome's Car Combat does this, having choices that are essentially cars straight out of Twisted Metal. Revenant is Shadow from Twisted Metal Small Brawl, Rampage is Hammerhead from Twisted Metal 2, but the game also has its own unique characters to make this feel like a new experience, and my worries came to an end after I saw the designs overall. I would say my favorite character is probably Frigid, one who shoots out ice blasts, leaving that said ice on the ground and doing a bit of damage if the enemy is inside of the impact. I feel like this car is kind of overpowered since the ice makes the affected not be able to move, plus doing damage on top of it. Frigid is still fun nonetheless. Another one I really like is Sludge, who shoots out acid bubbles everywhere. The hovercraft is a cool one as well. I'm glad to see some old with the new. Even cars that are similar to Twisted Metal classics, like Riot here is a police car, which I was expecting to be an Outlaw clone with the taser locking on, but I was wrong. This special is more of an AoE charge attack, which threw me off. There are 13 picks so far, with more coming soon. I hope to see some new cool ones that weren't in Twisted Metal, like a fire truck. Hell, get a septic truck in there spewing fecal matter all over the place. It will be a fun time. Obviously, these cars all have their own unique stats shown by bars on the selection screen. Now, if Chrom was trying to be really authentic to Twisted Metal and have all these bars lie to you and not mean anything, I have not figured that out yet. Hopefully that's not the case, because we all know how much of a goddamn lie those stat bars are in Twisted Metal games. Actually bullshit. If you haven't noticed from the gameplay, this is obviously not a finished product. A few of the textures and areas are not there, having that classic untextured checkerboard squares. So I was not entirely sure how about going towards these levels. They are aesthetically pleasing. I really like the art style. It reminds me a lot of Twisted Metal 2. The vibrancy is nice and everything pops out at you. None of them are truly good maps yet. I would say with the game not being finished, it's really hard to say something is good when the potential hasn't been met yet. They are playable, obviously, the flow is nice. My issue is that there's nothing destructible, period. Unless I miss something during my session, and that kinda does suck. This genre is known for being able to destroy things, whether it's little stupid boxes or statues, anything of the sort. Putting people into an environment where they're able to destroy a bunch of things aids into the power fantasy this genre typically gives off. You feel as if you're the big boss, wreaking havoc on a city, like you are Godzilla. Twisted Metal makes you become Godzilla. It's just a hopeful thinking thing from me. Since I said the game is not finished yet, that is something I really hope to see in the future. Now, to what extent, I'm not really sure how far the destructibility can go. Hopefully some is put into this game eventually. The levels are multiplayer centric, and that's the only way you can play. It doesn't mean there's no place for destructibility, obviously. Being able to blow someone's cover away or simply remove cover can change up the game big time in certain instances. I would say all of the levels are similar to Twisted Metal 3 with being more flat, except crank the contrast way the hell up. We do have some unique environments though. Everything is not just Black and Gray City 1 or Black and Gray Highway 2. We got a lumber mill, Egypt, an Arctic level, rooftops, military base, docks. There's plenty of visual variety, and thank the heavens for that. I cannot go through another Gray and Black Town 3 again. Who would have thought color would be an amazing thing to include into a game? As I said, there's nothing crazy about them, so I'm sure the more detailed stuff will come into the future, new areas will open up making them feel more porous, and it will be really exciting once that happens. I did mention the multiplayer only part, which is the case for the time being. You are only able to play this online or offline with bots, which is how I got all of my footage here. The choice of modes here is free-for-all and team deathmatch. You can change some things up, like how you win, whether you want it to be kills or damage. On team deathmatch, you can turn on and off friendly fire. They're simple but effective. A lack of single player may turn some people away, but the gameplay is genuinely that good. Playing against bots was a fun time. All the control preferences are available if you want to play with keyboard, Xbox, PlayStation controller, whatever you want, it's supported. So you can enjoy this how you want to. That's really it for the content front. 13 cars, 15 levels, the graphic style is bright and vibrant. Shockingly, the car models actually do look really good and well detailed. Sitting there taking a look, clearly a lot of time was put into these, and I respect the hustle. And the ability to play multiplayer online, it does work quite well from Chrom's tests, and I would love to try this myself one day when it's available, because it would be more fun playing it with real people. 8 people can be in a lobby, plus 5 spectators, and there's enough new cars and maps for everyone to enjoy. So with all of this being said, I wanted to talk about my hopes for the future with this game, because it has a lot of potential. Core feeling wise, this is the best car combat game I've played. That is not a joke either. The ability to have this at 240 FPS is enough to make my mind blown due to how smooth this is. This has potential to be one of the best car combat experiences on the market. Granted, it doesn't really have any competition, but my point still stands. It mixes old with the new, has promising locales, and what is essentially Twisted Metal Black's core gameplay. Lots of effort put in towards the cars. I have really high hopes for this. I did talk to Chrom a bit about his game, and there are 3 more cars he has in the works, bringing the total up to 16. One is supposed to be the aesthetic of Pit Viper with the ability to dig under the ground and travel, an artillery car who turns into a turret. The example he gave me was similar to Bastion in Overwatch 2, being able to drive around and shoot people, presumably having multiple formations. And the final one is basically Outlaw from Twisted Metal Black, a car with a turret on top. And that's not including the boss vehicles. How grandiose will these bosses be? Only time will tell. I think assuming Twisted Metal 2 Minion is a safe bet when it comes to this, unless somehow a Darktooth style giant monstrosity would be able to come in and eat us alive. That would be really cool. I just don't expect something on that scale. Obviously, these characters aren't going to have the same charm as ones from Twisted Metal due to the fact there's no designated driver per automobile. It doesn't bother me too much because it's not a 2012 situation where we already had a bunch of characters established, then it gets downscaled to only having 3. It's honestly sad that an indie game being worked on like one person has more creativity than 2012 does. Like, that's actually crazy, dude. Like, holy, that is so sad, man. But that's a completely different saddening story for the ages, like an actual embarrassment. A single player is being implemented. I know that will make a lot of people happy to hear. When it comes to the tournament, he actually told me something really interesting. The way the tournament's supposed to work is similar to Black, with proper boss battles and presumably maybe 2 of them throughout your run of the game. There will also be mini bosses, versions of the regular cars that come in and cause some chaos at random times, similar to how I was saying Cousin Eddie should have been implemented in Twisted Metal Head On. That is a unique dynamic that was never touched upon in Twisted Metal at all, and I'm really glad to see that tossed in, stirring the pot and keeping players on their toes. I'm a big fan of this choice. New gameplay mechanics were something really desired in Twisted Metal, but thankfully Chrom is our hero, and he is winner. The only hopes I have going forwards is new. It sounds very vague, but I said it multiple times now. Twisted Metal really dropped the ball when implementing new stuff into the game. The lack of innovation really hurt the series over time. So having a spiritual successor to the series, now is the moment for that creativity to be expressed in gameplay since it already has an amazing base. Seriously, if Chrom's car combat added new mechanics, some new weapons, characters with unique special, this could be better than almost every Twisted Metal game. Like, no joke. Sure, it wouldn't have the same charm, of course, but the core gameplay is what I'm referring to here. That is how much praise I think this game deserves. It is still very early on, but you can smell that potential oozing from the game, just driving around and shooting things. It has the satisfaction everyone is looking for, it has the unique special weapons. The cake is there, and it just depends on how the icing will turn out. Currently, the tournament version of this game is being worked on, releasing sometime next month, I believe, and I'm excited to test it out. I'll most likely stream it when it's ready. I won't provide a download link for this game because I'm not sure if I'm able to. I didn't want to mess around with that just in case Chrom didn't want his game to be shared. I just played it, I wanted to give my genuine thoughts on it, and just spread the word of this game so people know what it is. I will check to see if I'm allowed to, but if I can, share that download link, check the comments, the pinned comment, it will be there at the top, or in the description.
What is going on, little man? It's Axel here, coming in to thank all of the channel members. If you want to be a cool guy like the rest of these fine people, go ahead and join the channel and spam stupid emotes in chat. Thanks for watching, babies.